Hello and welcome to this episode of the DPC Fuji Learning Experience. Today we're talking about customization.
Well, in regards to customizing the Fuji system, the other day I was actually shooting with your camera, the one that you borrowed me, and I realized that a lot of the settings were not the same than the standard model I tested a while ago. So can you tell us a little bit more about customizing the Fuji gear?
Yes, Dani, the customization of the X-T2 is one of my favorite aspects about the camera. Not only can you customize the front and back dials, but you can assign all the program buttons as function buttons as well. So there's a lot of work to get through today. Let's dive right in. Okay guys, we're going to be working through the user setting and how to customize to suit your exact shooting workflow. The first question that I asked myself, which wasn't very apparent on the X-T2, was how do I format a memory card? So it is a bit of a hidden function, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that now. If you scroll down to the setup menu, under the user setting, you click the right arrow, and that will bring up the option to format under the user settings. Once you've selected the format option, it will give you the option if you want to select slot 1 or slot 2. Guys, make sure that you have backed up your images before formatting. Running through a few of the other functions for the user setting, you can set the date and time here, the time difference. If you're traveling, then there's the My Menu setting. You can access this option from the user settings, although we're going to cover this in more detail a bit later. Your sensor cleaning, you can decide when the X-T2 should have its automatic sensor cleaning, and then the reset. Here you can select whether you want to reset the shooting menu or if you want your whole setup reset to factory defaults. Next is the sound setup. I'm not going to run through all the options for the sound setup menu, but as an overview, you'd be able to set up the playback volume of your headphone monitoring, as well as the beep volume if you find focus, as well as the tone of the beep volume. Your screen setup, now I find this quite important, and make sure that you're going to set this menu up so that it's perfectly tuned for your workflow. The EVF color, this is if you want to adjust the color of your electronic viewfinder. If you select this option, it will prompt you to look into the viewfinder so that you can adjust it to your needs. The LCD brightness, you can adjust this up and down. If you're in a bright environment, I'd suggest setting the brightness up a little bit. If you're in a dimmed or indoor environment, you can leave it at 0 or take it negative. The same with the LCD color. The image display option is very handy. I leave mine to half a second so that I can review the image for half a second after I've taken it. This allows me to decide without chimping on the back of my screen whether or not the shot was acceptable to keep. You can set it to 1.5 seconds or continuous as well. The electronic viewfinder auto rotate displays on, so if you take an image in portrait orientation, then it will fill the entire LCD screen instead of just showing a small portion of the screen. The preview exposure and white balance in manual mode is an extremely important function if you want to shoot with flash, and particularly off-camera flash. Personally, I assign this function to my autofocus lock because I swap between flash and natural light shooting. What this function does, if engaged, it will give you the exact preview of how your image is going to look when you push the shutter button. This might not always be adequate for your shooting situation. For example, if you are shooting in a dimly lit environment, and your light will be coming from your flash. The exposure that you've dialed in while in the manual mode will be underexposed. However, when your flash fires, it will correctly expose the scene. In that case, you want to switch off the function to preview what your shot will look like, so that you have a fully exposed image in your viewfinder. That will enable you to move your focus point to your desired area. The rest of the options on the screen setting menu are some of the lesser used options. Please refer to your manual for further advice. I do, however, want to cover the display custom settings. This will be the information that you choose to show on your viewfinder or at the back of your LCD. Back to the setup menu. Now we're going to talk about the button and the dial settings. The focus lever setting, it's whether or not you want to be able to move your focus spot using the focus lever. You also have the option of accessing your quick menu from the button dial setting, which has been covered in previous episodes. The next option is very important and very useful for XT2 shooters. It's where you assign your button settings and how they function. If you customize this to your shooting environment, you'll have access to all of the options you need. Here you will have a total of 8 function buttons that you can assign as per your shooting requirement. The button that is being highlighted will show you exactly which button on the camera will be used for the correlating function. So if I would like my top function button to display the face eye detection setting, this is where I would assign it. With time and trial and error, you will be able to set up your XT2 exactly the way that suits your shooting environment. Moving on the button dial setting menu, we've got the selector button settings. Under the selector button settings, it is referring to the 4 selector buttons around the menu button. You can choose to either assign each one of these buttons to a function button, or you can have them control your focus area, which I personally assign to my focus lever. The remaining options on the button dial settings are some of the lesser used functions. Please refer to your manuals for further details. Under the power management option, you have the option for your auto power off. You can select that as 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, or you can disengage the option altogether. The performance boost will become available to you if you have the battery group attached. The next option is the save data setup. Here you can decide if you want to have your frame numbers continuous or if they should renew. Moving down, we have the edit file name. Here you can set up your custom file names as per your preference. In the following setting, you'll be able to allocate your primary and secondary memory card functions. Sequential will mean that one memory card gets shot full and then starts moving on to the next memory card. In this option, you will have the most shots available amongst 2 memory cards. With a backup option, it will make an identical replica from one memory card to the next. This will halve the amount of images that you can take with 2 cards, but it will mean that you will have a backup of your primary card at all times. Your raw JPEG option will shoot a raw image to your first card and send a JPEG image with all of the settings that you had dialed into the XT2 onto the second memory card. We might elaborate on this on future sessions. The last option under the setup menu is the connection settings. I'm going to talk you through the most important functions to set up a Wi-Fi zone using your X-T2 and connect to it, as well as operate it from your Android or iOS device. Your first option under connection settings include your wireless settings. Under the general settings, you'll be able to assign your Wi-Fi zone a custom name. Under the resize image for smartphone option, if you're shooting with very big JPEGs, I would recommend that you have this setting enabled. This will mean it will send a smaller version of the JPEG to your phone and enable faster transfer. For the other functionality, please refer to your X-T2 manual. I'm Warren James, a Fuji X-Photographer. Thank you for watching this DPC Fuji learning experience. For more information on courses, visit dpc.co.za. I'd love to connect with you. Visit warrenjames.co.za. Thank you to Photon Lighting and Vanguard for supplying us the kit for this shoot. See you later.